In my earlier days, I was a little bit of a black sheep. I was kind of like the dropout from school. Parents weren't happy with me because I was never top of the class. In fact, I was like bottom of the bottom class, or rather top of the bottom class. And I had to compete for the attention of a family of 5. And being the youngest one, it's a little bit opposite. I wasn't the oldest son, and I used to compete with for my parents' attention, like a lot of kids do these days. So I played soccer, was never recognized for it, so I tried really hard, became good at it. That didn't work, so I played ping pong to the point I became, or table tennis, I became an Auckland rep, really trained for it, practice, and parents never came along and said, good on you. So I tried something else. I started working hard at the social welfare. I started working harder at school, although I was hopeless then. Read too many comics, I think. But it came to a point that in order to be successful, I saw 2 things in my father, and I really worship him for it. One is he was a very well known and very great in community work. So hence I followed his footsteps into the community. But the downside was, because he spent so much time in the community, he was pretty much broke. He'd give his all to help the community and went without in many situations himself, donating funds, donating his time and all that. And I did the same thing, but I took a difference. I needed to have a passive income, so hence I got into property investing when I was 21. My rich dad was actually a Japanese couple who actually we came across at a social function. He said, Ron, have you thought about investing in properties? And we followed what they did. And from that day onwards, I had my turning point. And I still did my community work. I actually, because I had a goal then, I saved a lot harder and got an overdraft on my vehicle, against my vehicle, and that gave me my deposit to buy my first property. And it was a place in Inkerman Street, number 31 actually. And I didn't know anything about buying or investing. I just jumped into the deep end, and I bought the place, advertised for $10,750, and I got it for a grand discount at $10,500. It was at a time where suddenly 3 years later the value of the property went up 50%. Instead of leveraging it, not knowing then, I actually sold it to buy 2 properties, and from there I sold those 2 properties to buy 4 properties, and that's how I grew my portfolio. Only after I had about half a dozen properties, I realized that you don't have to sell, you can now leverage. So I grew my portfolio to 11 years. Problem after 11 years is my bank manager of the day, my accountant of the day, and my lawyer all asked me, I was 31 then, Ronnie, you got 11 properties, you owe $500,000. How the heck are you going to be debt free when you retire at 60? So thinking of being afraid of debt, I decided that I'd stop buying properties, and I actually got 3 jobs and became a workaholic. And after 10 years, I managed to pay about $50,000, 10% off my $500,000 mortgage. That $500,000 mortgage, when you really think today, it's like having, $5 million on an average income trying to pay it off. It doesn't work. So came into the 1990s, I then went into business, and I needed funds to set up a business which I called a tofu shop. I didn't know, I left the welfare then, I didn't know I had the acumen for business, and in the end I set up 11 shops, but I needed deposits to set up 11 shops, so I sold all my properties, 11 properties I had, and each one was to set up a shop. Gave me huge cash flow. But what I suddenly realized is that having cash flow was great, but there was no capital growth, which is where the massive wealth was. So then in 2003, I got back into property. I actually got back into property with some sort of anger, actually, because I was determined to catch up the 10 years of having no properties. And in 2003, after attending a a property investing course along with 500 others, I actually ended up buying 21 properties in 12 months with a revolving credit or overdraft of 180,000 today, which I now have over 30 properties. And that 180,000 revolving credit has now accumulated a net worth of somewhere around about $18 million. And this is where all this thing I learnt from mistake, not necessarily lost money, but I learnt how I wish I could have done it better. And now today with this information, it's with pleasure that I'm able to impart to others to make sure they don't follow the footsteps and mistakes that I had made in my earlier days. But coming back to the black sheep, I guess it's like some people, a pat on the head didn't necessarily motivate me. It was more about, heck, what do I got to do to get more attention? And I guess this flowed out to the social aspect of it and community aspect. The more I did, the more recognition I seemed to have got. So hence, I'm grateful for the QSM Queen's Service Medal I got in 2003 and the Justice of Peace, which today I still have, and really welcome it. And this has sort of made my life or legacy is to continue doing what I'm doing. Hi everyone, look, do come along to our centre. I love this sort of, I'm quite passionate about helping people, I really am. And I find that the reward comes from changing a person's life. I'm at this stage of my life where I see so many young people who have lost whatever it is, and now I'll be able to help them to move forward and take advantage of their lives. This is so much pleasure for me because I know it relates to helping those around them, their surrounding, their friends and their children, which is even the basis of everything, is to help our next generation be homeowners and get into investment is one way of doing it.